Hi, this is Maria, and in this video we begin stage 3 on mastering culture, and we are going to really get into the subject of spiral dynamics and the spiral journey. So COVID-19 made more visible the definite need for cultural change, and this could not be a more challenging time for human life or the planet, not just because of the immediate challenges of the pandemic and the lingering effects of it, and its economic consequences, but also because it demands that we address the precariousness of our environmental and social systems. We have been disregarding life conditions on the planet for some time. The human race, or at least some members, have been having a party and unfortunately forgot to stop when it was time to stop. Now we have to deal with the consequences. Delayed change always makes change harder. One thing is for sure that we need a serious rebalancing of our relationship with nature and a rebalancing of how we live life. The pandemic created space for that conversation to occur on a larger scale if we allow it, and in some ways we really haven't. We've rejected the conversation, which isn't good. But nonetheless, we're still moving forward in a lot of different ways. Our current system is actually a system of economic rights, which have been accumulated in the hands of a few to the detriment of the many. And because of the control of resources and instruments of power by the few, it's harder and harder for the many to create lives that allow them to live with some dignity and hope. As the inequities have become more serious, the need for change has become imperative. Rights can be destructive if they're unsustainable, so we really need to rethink the economic rights of our system. Fear and hope are valuable tools for us to manage life's challenge as well. Without hope, we have no way to harness our energies productively. Without fear, we can be reckless and excessive in our actions, taking liberties with natural resources and human resources. Unfortunately, one of the ideas that has been a building block of the Western economic system is the idea of limitlessness called growth. This idea of limitlessness is one of the reasons we have a mythology that says if you have a limitation, it's because of a belief or because there's something wrong with you, and that is nonsense. Limitlessness requires the control of a lot of resources. In order for some to have the life that they would like without any restriction, which means of wants and desires and emotional restrictions like fear, they must have a lot of financial and other resources. You have to accumulate a large portion of the natural and material resources in the world. That means that many have to do without. This is not a political issue. It's not simply an attitudinal and reality issue. Nature needs time for rejuvenation. We all do. The reality we've been refusing is the reality that all resources are finite. We all know from our own experiences that our own resources are not infinite. We require self-care, restoration, and rejuvenation in order to give what we have to give to the world. We're part of nature, and nature has the same need. This unrecognized need by our cultural system is destructive. Thankfully, COVID opened the door for change. The current mess we're in demonstrates that although we need culture, culture when out of control or when flat out wrong can be very destructive, and more people are finally waking up to it. All cultures have a specific agenda, which we will be getting into. They help us survive and they help us develop skills, but most do not realize that they only have one of the many answers to life's problems. I hope at the end of this video you will see that you are not the identity that culture gives you, that you are so much more. So this is an overview of the chart of the spiral, as we discussed before, and I'm just going to go over this again because you've heard it once, and you probably need to hear it more than once. There are 8 known stages organized into tiers of 6 meme systems or cultural systems. Each system is the dominant system for a time and replaced by a new one, which brings new solutions to problems that have been created. You will notice that there's a blue line that separates the tiers on the chart, and the tier is always a theme, a broader theme that a group of cultural systems is working to do something about. And the theme of the first tier is survival, which of course makes sense. So we're about to enter the last cultural system in the survival theme of tier 1 before transitioning to a new tier with a different theme. And we are in a process of transition. It can include a transition through the green egalitarian order and integrated self before we're going to actually restore real health and balance to our lives. So the transition period we're in could last for some time. The word meme describes an element of a culture or a system or behavior that can be considered to be passed from one individual to another by non-genetic means, especially imitation. We see it in viral ideas on social media, but meme systems are social systems around a group purpose, which is the defining meme idea for the group and which is replicated throughout the social system. So a meme system is not the same thing as a meme. It's actually a social structure. Each system has its own story about what life is all about and what its purpose is. The spiral chart is V-shaped because each stage develops new skills along a track. The upper meme systems are individualistic and the lower ones are communal, in keeping with the pattern of alternation between these two ways of organizing cultures. So basically, if you look at the top and it's individualistic, we develop additional skills along the track of individuality, and then we also develop new skills along the track of community when you're looking at the bottom part of the V shape. And this makes sense because we both have a social side we need to develop and a competency side we need to develop. And the social side is developed more in the communal systems, and the individualistic ones tend to focus on developing individual skills. These systems evolved the way they did because of needs at the time of their creation, and the form they took was based on the resources and skills they had. So people didn't just wake up one day and say, well, I think I'm going to create a capitalistic system. They aren't arbitrary choices. Each culture, as well as each country or nation, builds from a starting platform. Now, older countries may have come into being when communal systems dominated and developed community cultures that they then built on. Younger countries like the United States came into being during individualistic times, would have built on individualistic platforms. And it's important to understand this if you want to have clarity about cultural conflict. Our identity is shaped partly by our experience with our early cultural system. Often we stay with that identity throughout our lives, but when going through a cultural shift like now, we have the opportunity to take the skills we've learned at one stage or all earlier stages that we have in our repertoire and build on them by transitioning to the next stage. So now we're going to go through the spiral as an evolutionary story so you can get a sense of how it evolved and is evolving. And we will start with beige, and I will identify them by their shorthand name, which is the color, so you can see where we are on the chart. So survival sense is beige, tribal order is purple, the powerful self or the empire type self is red, absolute order or authoritarian, the formal authoritarian system is blue, enterprising self is orange, and that's capitalism and equality under the egalitarian order, visible mostly in social democracies. And then we have the second tier, which is the integrated self and the global order for yellow and turquoise. The beige stage is a subsistence stage where people are grouped in small, loose bands. They're nomadic, hunter-gatherers, and naturally, therefore, they have very few possessions. They tend to move around in order to find food in the form of berries and game, and they live in caves or cave-like dwellings that they build. Each day, their energy is consumed by looking for food, avoiding getting killed by animals and perhaps other individuals. When not looking for food, they may make their own weapons to kill game and other animals for food and clothing, or they might be building a small cave-like home from stones and wood that they gather. Every day is essentially focused on the basic necessities around surviving. When you're at the beige level, you have to keep it real and focus only what matters for survival. People at this stage have to pay a lot of attention to their environment and learn to read footprints of all kinds and other signs of life. They have to investigate plants to eat. That may not always turn out so well. They work with raw materials to create tools and dwellings. And their life is mostly physical or oriented towards physical necessities. They have a huge amount of risk and very few defenses. This level began about 100,000 years ago and is rarely found today. If it is, it's in people who have suffered a tragedy of some kind. For example, people who are homeless, refugees may fall into this group. Their process and focus in life is one of strictly seeking survival and meeting basic physical needs. I think this stage is very underrated, particularly today, because people at this stage have very serious nature and groundedness skills that we have largely lost and could use. When we cover the second tier we're going to be revisiting this stage to consider its lessons and how to apply them in a new theme. It's a very practical and low-fuss stage of the spiral. It sticks to the knitting in life. What's needed and necessary occupies their attention, and there is a lot of merit and some real benefits to being that way, especially right now when our ability to make basic needs is being called into question by overconsumption and some of the other issues we've been experiencing, like the pandemic. So the next stage is the purple stage, also called the tribal stage, which began about 50,000 years ago. So the tribe is the first communal theme, and it's the mother of all the communal meme systems. There's a reason why people keep gravitating to the idea of a tribe. At some point, the little band of hunter-gatherers is not so little anymore. You may have developed some farming skills and want to think about settling somewhere where you can protect what you have. Or perhaps you might find that teaming with other bands is a smarter way to live, to reduce your vulnerability. But whatever the reason, you get together with others and create a tribe. So now the social side of life becomes more important because the tribe is a larger group of different families and people, and they need to get along. These tribes are often created from more than one band or family, and so they have to find a way to bring together these different groups of people who may not know each other very well. Becoming a tribe is not a small matter. People in the early tribes did not have it easy. They were pre-literate and so had limited language skills, although they developed sound-based ways of communicating. And if you have different sound-based languages, that can be a challenge. So one person's sound may represent something to one group of people, and it might be a compliment. To another group of people, it might be an insult. I mean, it gets really complicated, even with sound-based languages. So, I mean, putting together a tribe is not a small matter. The tribe seeks safety through their numbers and a communal structure based on a collection of families. Excuse me. These interconnected families protect each other through reciprocal obligations to ensure that everyone is supported and taken care of. Everyone's invested in the community through these reciprocal obligations, which may include arranged marriage. Reciprocity is the basis of trust in the tribe. They identify their tribe as us and take care of the us and have strong us versus them thinking. These ideas about reciprocity and who is us and who is not are still alive in modern life and sometimes manifest in dangerous ways in the present. In addition to reciprocal obligations, tribes develop rituals that help them connect to nature and natural stages in life. They create subgroups around initiations into various stages of life, like their sex role groups, which provide training for adulthood with initiation rites for each sex. Each step of growth is celebrated, and their rituals acknowledge and validate the personal growth of members. Many young people today feel let down because they feel that they're initiated into a system, but the markers and rituals of initiation into full adulthood are not really felt. Daily life in a tribe is about maintaining the relationships, doing the basic work of the tribe, and also about the work of creating and putting on the rituals for the various times of the year and the various events that cement the tribe. So each day you get up early and prepare food, then eat and do your daily work. You spend time connecting with others through the daily events and elaborate rituals and festivals. People connect a lot with each other, and the tribe connects with nature and seasons because they still have a relationship with nature that's very close. Life centers fully around the tribe and nature and has a flowing quality to it. So the basic components of the tribe, in addition to taking care of basic necessities, are creating a shared language, reciprocal obligations, and rituals. And safety comes from healthy blood and family relationships, but also from obeying the mystical spirit beings that the tribe thinks governs their lives. When the tribe is created, the people are beginning to move beyond subsistence thinking to develop a relationship with the universe. They have enough people and some survival needs met, so they start to wonder about the universe and their place in it. The spirit of wonder we all have as children is one of the pronounced qualities of people in the tribe. They create a story about how they came to be, who their ancestors are, and the stories about animals and plants from their close connection with nature. These stories become their truth about life and inform their choices. They also become a way of bonding and teaching. In a way, you could say they've taken the skills they had connecting with nature in the survival band and have used that experience and knowledge to identify a story about themselves and life that comes from their new intuitive, animistic approach to life, where they experience the aliveness of all life forms, which is new to the tribal stage of the spiral. One of the better known examples is Aboriginal Dreamtime. Tribes create stories about animals and their characteristics as a learning tool and to try and draw on the strengths in animals to themselves. Nature is alive, it's a home and a teacher also. Native American coyote stories, Aesop's fables, are examples of stories that become teaching vehicles, and this is how they pass on knowledge through oral tribal traditions. Although their knowledge is rudimentary by the standards of modern culture, they're nonetheless sticking their toes in the life stream beyond subsistence by trying to understand the world and cause and effect. They have what is called a circular process, where they try to control what is happening to them through reciprocity, pleasing the ancestors to bring positive energy, and hexes and other techniques for controlling ill will and negativity. It's highly right brained, intuitive, and mystical, but it's essentially a closed world. The tribal world will have important gifts for us in trying to develop a new culture. Its intuitive connection with the aliveness of nature, sense of wonder, and intuitive skills matter. We will need to create a new common language, a story of rituals for this new system, which brings together so many different kinds of people with different language and social rituals. And it's important not to underplay the amount of knowledge just because it's different that they had at this stage of the spiral. Ayurveda, the amazing um, Indian um, healing system, is something that began in the tribal stage. So it does bring us a tremendous amount of helpful knowledge even at this time in our history. The next stage is what's called red. It's gangs, it's ecocentric. Uh, Empires come under the heading of the red stage. The mafia does as well. So this is the stage that most people fear. It's often considered the time when the ego shows up, and it began about 10,000 years ago. This is still a pre-literate stage of development because literacy begins about 3500 BCE. As time goes on, an individual recognizes that the tribe and its practices are not always right, and perhaps that the ancestors' rituals and hexes do not always protect them, and they start wanting to take direct action. They begin to see the gods as less than perfect, and that perhaps they can influence the gods and the ancestors on their own, like making their own deals with the gods. They discover their own power and begin the journey to developing competence. There's a big downside to this stage of development, which is also fairly primitive in many ways. However, it's where we begin to take control of ourselves to develop strength, something to offer, and competence. So this stage also has benefits to give to the world if we can identify and channel the aggressive energies it unleashes. Life in the Red Empire meme is totally different from the tribe. Every day in this system is a contest to best someone or something. Life is considered a test in a jungle full of dangers, and you want to be the strong one who emerges victorious. You're alone in a harsh world, and the thinking is that life is about survival of the fittest. People at this stage have a strong conquest or hero drive. The energy is conquering. Red people take control and treat people in the tribes like slaves. They do not like rules or constraints, but have no problem exploiting you. If something goes wrong, they will blame. If you're beaten in a contest, it's because you're weak. They want respect and will punish anyone who goes against them or does something they do not like. People at this stage can be very vindictive, not that others cannot be as well. Many people at this stage develop physical skills around fighting or other kinds of physical self-testing. It's a warrior meme system with the cultural structure of an empire. People at this stage are quite impulsive. They don't plan. They prefer to live for the moment. They are brash and short-sighted, but also creative and trying new ideas and testing limits. The red stage can be provocative, exploring, and exploitive. Red is the home of machismo, testing oneself, heroism, and conquest. Grandiosity and brutality are common. As long as people at the red stage have others to exploit, they can continue. However, when doubts and guilt start to creep in and the slaves defect, a red person may start to move to the blue level of the spiral. This is a difficult stage of the spiral for anyone, but has some important gifts. It's the second individualistic meme system, and it expects each person to use initiative, something that we all need to learn to do. So if you reject this stage, then it becomes harder to access and respect that part of you that has initiative. We will need initiative if we're to create a new cultural system. Second, it's highly creative, and we will need creativity in coming up with new ways of living and working. So creativity is one of our important natural gifts. It's not one that we necessarily use as well as we could, and certainly not one that we use to create humanitarian cultural systems. So this particular stage, even though it's not humanitarian, can have some gifts for us as we create something new in the world. So when people get tired of red destructiveness, they have to invent a new stage to control it. So in comes the blue authoritarian stage, the second communal meme, which first began about 5,000 years ago. They say in the spiral world that it's only the fear of God that will contain violent red, and it is very violent. From the standpoint of a red person, us against the world can get lonely and it's dangerous. You get tired of fighting all the time, although some people don't seem to mind. And because the red stage is so impulsive, people there lack the discipline to see anything through. They put the burden of discipline on others. And when others get tired of that arrangement, red meme individuals can become very vulnerable, and some of them will decide to change. A lot of them won't. There comes a point for everyone where, if they want more out of life, they need to develop self discipline and skills. For people at the red stage, that requires that they move to the next level. It might seem counterintuitive for someone to go from impulsive red to authoritarian disciplined blue, but blue offers a support system, the chance to develop self-discipline and deeper skills, something that any red hero needs to learn. The idea behind blue is sacrifice now to enjoy later, and that's a valuable skill. The hero drive is transformed. From the hero drive from the red meme system, the Empire red system is transformed in the service of an almighty God and the one true way. So the red conqueror becomes the blue crusader, and they get the added relief of no longer having to figure everything out. So blue is authoritarian and hierarchical. The earlier systems were hierarchical also, by the way, but it's especially rigid in its structure. Under the blue system, everyone has their place. There are rules, and one is punished for disobedience or stepping outside the rules. Each day is ordered around church, family, and work. Life has a purpose, and as long as you stay in your place and do as you're told, you are safe and supported. The energy is reverent, obedient, and unfortunately punitive. People appreciate each other in the blue level, which is actually enjoyable and even refreshing after the brutal red system. It's like family on a larger scale, but they have family of shared beliefs. It is true of all of the meme systems that they expand as they move forward in their views and also what they consider relevant. So the tribe's immediate family now becomes a family of people with shared beliefs. People at the blue stage are often called the salt of the earth because they're very down to earth and often humble people. There is a predictability at this stage which helps people feel comfortable, especially after raging red destructiveness. It's a system that reinforces ideas and beliefs, which give coherence to the system. If you can get a lot of people marching in one direction, you've basically created a reality. And for some, the order is a relief and life seems to have a purpose again. However, intolerance and self sacrifice create problems. And the authority of the church, and most people associate this particular stage with the major religious systems, although it applies for military systems and other kinds of blue level organizations like scouting organizations and things of that nature. So it's not just based on religion, but a lot of what we think about this system comes from an understanding of how it evolved as a religious kind of structure. So the authority of the church does get questioned when the authority is wrong, and it begins to erode trust. Over time, people begin to want to live by their own authority again, which you can't blame them for, once there is stability, which blue creates. So blue is actually can be a springboard for some of the later development. And so then people venture forth into the next meme system, which is orange. So many people are fed up with this stage of the authoritarian level of the spiral because of its rigid dogmatism, and that's definitely appropriate. However, it has something important to offer us in life, our own self-discipline, as well as understanding that a certain amount of order is important if we are to create the space for developing new skills and systems. The antithesis of order is chaos, and some chaos or drama can actually sabotage us. So we need to find a way to have the order we need without the sabotage to move forward. I'm always interested when I hear people say, I don't do housework or this, that, or the other thing. I have too many more important things to do. But that's exactly, that's a mistake because you're rejecting the minimum amount of order you need to actually be effective. and that's a rejection of the blue system and the gift that it does bring. So the next is orange. So orange is where we are now, at least the formal system is still the orange meme system, and it started about 1,000 years ago. And it's the one that we're most familiar with. The orange meme system, formerly called achievist, started to develop when people began to seek a reliable way to develop knowledge independent of superstition and authorities who are often wrong, and so they developed the scientific process. To many, authority can be arbitrary, and science and data help us discover facts independent of personal desires and agendas. Science, which is fact-seeking, became a tool to help people move out of the relative safety of stifling blue and have a way to move forward. The independence that the orange system offered is great, but you still need some support, some coworkers, and some way to manage risks. Science provided information and methods for individuals to work together beyond shared beliefs. People at the orange level are self-motivated, they're interested in progress and accomplishment, that's what it's all about. They use their creativity and strategic thinking and the optimization of results. It's highly competitive, and it seeks technological solutions to improve life. Where red is about conquering haves and vanquishing the have-nots, and blue is the one true way. Excuse me. Orange reveres the Horatio Alger self-made hero, the entrepreneur who creates something against the odds. It's the third individualistic meme system. It reinvents the hero and applies it primarily to commerce. People at various stages of orange can be very brash and combative, like red, although it's more sophisticated and shows up in social competition and the clash of ideas. Often people here are self-absorbed and not at all altruistic unless it serves their interests because they believe in individualistic autonomy, and many are Ayn Rand followers. On the plus side, orange is more open to multiplicity, in other words, variety, because it develops many markets and the complex organizations that serve them. It's less rigid than blue, and it's definitely more creative. Daily life in the orange meme system can feel like a grind. Since this stage is capitalism, which is also the industrial age, the energy of industry is the energy of orange. Orange energy is pounding and constant. The energy of orange is the energy of the machine. And because people are being replaced by machines, many feel they have to keep up their productivity almost to the point as if they were competing against machines, which can be very difficult to live with. So orange life is about seeking success and status, and thinks life is all about winning an image. People at the orange level do not like anyone encroaching on them and dislike any neediness from others, because that means that that person is taking some of their time and energy, and they may lose their place on the success ladder. Like red, it's a lonely meme filled with contests and judgments and a need to avoid losing the upper hand in a dog-eat-dog competition. And when the loneliness and exhaustion take their toll and guilt about excesses sets in, orange turns to the next stage, which is green. The orange meme offers important benefits which we need to carry forward. One, it's the one that develops in us the ability to build something and to be a part of building something on a much larger scale than any other system in the past. These are useful skills. It also recognizes difference in a way that has not been allowed in the past and sets the stage for the inclusivity of the next meme system. So green is the egalitarian meme. It's considered emergent at the level of the spiral because our cultural systems are still stuck in the orange capitalistic system. And so the green system has not taken over the structures yet. So it's considered emergent. It's the third communal level, which began about 150 years ago. It seeks to promote unity and community among all and liberate us from dogma and greed, which many of us would welcome. It invents a humane hero. It's the final stage of Tier 1 and therefore a culminating meme system. It is a communal energy. It's the energy of acceptance and non-judgment. It's consensual, where the purple community meme is about us and them and family focused, and the blue communal meme is communal around the one true way. Green is all about the inclusiveness of everyone and everything, as in the acceptance of differences. So everyone is beautiful in their own way. The green community includes everyone and everything as a member. Green life is about learning to be, about healing inner wounds in oneself, as well as healing the damage to animals and planet. It seeks consensus in all decisions and having all voices heard, and so it's very democratic. Many people enter the green level exhausted from too much work or stuff. So centering, healing, and practices like meditation become a big part of the green life. This meme system is emerging at a time when the harm to people and Earth are in great need of repair. It has a formidable task to manage a transition to inclusiveness, equality, and the healing of the planet and people all at once. This is the most empathetic meme so far because it invests in behaviors that includes others. Togetherness, harmony, and acceptance drive decisions. It's okay to be different. However, in the interest of harmony and exclusiveness, it can be hard sometimes to arrive at decisions and take action so people can get bogged down in green consensus building. Even the green meme does not solve all problems. The demands for harmony take a lot of energy. At some point, the need emerges for new solutions, or a decision, or to take action. When people are dissatisfied with the green level's ability to both create harmony and solve the challenges of diversity, they're ready for a new individual meme and starting over in the second tier, learning about patterns and how to work with them. The green meme is a meme stage that is evident in the Western world in some places, but not everywhere. Keep in mind that we're at the end of the survival story as our primary narrative, and so I see it as a transitioning meme system. We will have to heal and let go of all of the sins of the past and take with us into the future the gifts of earlier human cultural systems. However, because of the delays in addressing climate and environmental issues, some, including myself, think we will have to combine the transition to green and the next one yellow at the same time. So let's take a look at yellow. So yellow is called integral and it emerged about 50 years ago. That's not very long ago. Green may offer inclusiveness and healing of inequities, but life needs to work, and healing wounds is important, but it's not the same as getting something done. And so daily life has to work somehow. All of the social conflicts of the first tier start to diminish in importance, to be replaced by just being here and the magnificence of life. Living simply and appreciatively are more important than anything else. Yellow is a starting over meme. It's inner directed and doesn't need glory, and boy is there a lot of glory in the first tier. It learns where and what it needs to live simply, and it's not self-sacrificing, but it's not splashy either. It's a very grounded meme. It has a kind of inner directed autonomy, which is very beautiful. There's no need to control others. It's interested in systems and how they work and making them work better. Yellow is not mainstream, so we cannot yet point to it as an established system. It's very emergent. It is, however, curious, practical, and it's accepting of self and others. It is accepting in a different way than the green level, and that it allows the individual memes their space, even while trying to work with them. Where the first tier strong arms people into conforming a lot, the yellow meme system wants to bring out the best in each. The need and desire to use force goes away with this meme system, and that is something we definitely need. It's called Flex Flow because it has an ecological perspective about differences, so it looks for ways to make things work without trying to force people and systems to be what they're not and cannot be. It's, as I said, it's a starting over meme system, which will go back to basics, and that's when I was mentioning before, the beige meme system is very basic, and in a way, it kind of replicates some of the themes of that particular stage. So you'll go back to basics, but also start to look for different ways to make life work for people on the planet. So we take all the knowledge and intelligence that we've gained and start over with a different theme. Eventually, people at Yellow realize that they have developed some skills in working with patterns and human culture, but need to work with others because they cannot change everything by themselves. So they start to move towards the next level, which is turquoise. Just doing this work means you're starting to develop this skill. Turquoise is the first communal meme in the second tier. So basically, it's like the tribal level in the first stage, but now it's in the second tier under a new theme. It serves the good of all with integrated systems. A person at this stage sees less as more. Global and whole spiral networking is routine. This person is able to be communitarian and respect individual rights. It has a new spirituality based on awe of the universe and is comfortable with the mystery of life and that you cannot ever know everything. So, that is a brief journey through human history, courtesy of Spiral Dynamics. I wanted you to also get a sense of how many people are at each stage. Now, this is about 40 years old, these numbers, but nonetheless, it can help you understand better some of the cultural forces in our world today. Note that 80% of the power is concentrated between the blue and orange meme systems, the authoritarian and the capitalistic. Each have a dictatorial quality in their own ways. Blue has an authoritarian structure and is socially dictatorial, and orange can be very dictatorial about performance and very perfectionistic in that way. So if you're feeling the effects of rigid demands and expectations, you aren't wrong. Authoritarians have been making themselves felt, however. The overconsumption of the human race, courtesy of the orange meme system, means that a rebalancing absolutely has to take place. And that means that yellow is one of our best hopes for creating a world where we get to live in harmony with nature, natural limits, and be ourselves. So some of this dictatorial, authoritarian, high demand behaviors that we get are going to have to lighten up, but we still need to function. And so the back to basics nature of yellow, which will try to uh, bring out the best in all that we have done up until now, is our best chance for making that transition to a more in tune with nature way of living. So I hope this was informative. I know it was a little long. I'd be curious to know which of these cultural systems resonated the most for you, or how many you saw yourself in. They each develop skills, and perhaps you can identify skills you've developed from past systems, and perhaps you can identify some that you would like to learn. So I'd love to hear from you if you can post in the community. And now we will keep going, learning more about mastering culture.